before I get into this video, I want to remind you we got a couple giveaways going on. The first one for a PlayStation 5, an Xbox Series X, or a Nintendo Switch, and the second one for 2 copies of Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Now you can like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon, ways to enter, all that. But if you go down in the description as well, you'll see additional ways to enter. I wish all you guys luck. Let's get into this video because we have some interesting stuff to talk about here. Now, Tokyo Game Show has come to a close, and Tokyo Game Show, for those who don't know, is kind of like an E3, but also kind of like a Game Awards special. So like the Game Awards that we have on December 10th this year, it's kind of like a Japanese version of that. And so there's a bunch of different awards handed out. And the biggest award of all that you can win is called the Grand Award, which basically is their Game of the Year award. And needless to say, Nintendo took that crown home again for the second year in a row. That's right. In 2019, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate took home that award because, based on the timing that they do the award, every game released from now, until September of next year will be included for the next award. So Smash was included in the award show last year and ended up winning Game of the Year. Now here we are in 2020, and Nintendo did it again. This time, Animal Crossing New Horizons has won their Grand Award, aka Japan's version of Game of the Year. Now, Animal Crossing New Horizons is currently the best-selling game in Japanese history, so it's not really a surprise to see it take home Game of the Year, because if you're going to be the best-selling game ever in a country, you're probably going to win a Game of the Year award. But you have to wonder, is this a precursor for things to come? Because there's been a lot of fantastic games that came out this year. But when you look at things like the Game Awards here in the West, you have to wonder, can Animal Crossing New Horizons actually compete and win Game of the Year? It's clearly had a huge impact here in the United States. The sales are off the charts, best-selling Game of the Year. You have to wonder, could it possibly win Game of the Year at the Game Awards up against games like Ghost of Tsushima or whatever else happens to come out from now until then that might qualify? There is going to be an interesting debate going on around the validity of these games that are perceived super high quality, and then this so-called quote unquote casual game that you actually can't play casually if you really want to get anywhere in it, in Animal Crossing. It's going to be an interesting debate, I think, this year for Game of the Year, simply because of the clashing ideals of what makes a Game of the Year. Like when Breath of the Wild won Game of the Year back in 2017, that was universally accepted as the kind of game that would win Game of the Year, right? It's a high-profile game, one of the highest-rated games of all time, extremely popular, and it comes from an iconic franchise. It makes a lot of sense for that to win Game of the Year. And there was some debate at the time if Super Mario Odyssey could take away some votes, but ultimately Breath of the Wild is on in just a whole nother class even than Super Mario Odyssey. So this year the debate's really going to be, can something like Animal Crossing, which is perceived as this casual experience, actually compete with the big guns out there, the more traditional gaming experiences that people tend to give more credit to, even though Animal Crossing New Horizons has spent more time in development than some of these other games. So I think that it's going to be an interesting testament to see how the media and how the various voters on this treat this game in comparison to others. Obviously, in Japan, we don't have to worry about it. They go with what's popular. Smash was popular the year before. Animal Crossing is popular this year. If Nintendo has a top popular game next year, they'll probably take the crown again. But it's going to be an interesting debate for sure. And I personally don't know if Animal Crossing New Horizons should win Game of the Year. I think it's definitely the most impactful game of this year. I don't think we can doubt that. It's definitely one of the most important games of this year. With the pandemic, Animal Crossing was basically the perfect game to come out. Maybe another perfect game that could have came out in that time is a new Sims game, because anything that kind of simulates life at a time when we can't really live life normally is nice. And Animal Crossing is kind of like a life sim, but not, because nothing in it is necessarily realistic to real world. We can catch bugs and fish in real life, but not quite like in this game. So I do think that Animal Crossing New Horizons is a very unique case in a very unique situation where this is the first pandemic in my lifetime, and Animal Crossing thrived under these conditions, or maybe even because of these conditions. Not that Animal Crossing New Horizons wouldn't have been insanely popular anyways. I mean, come on, New Leaf sold like 13 million. It was, of course, going to be a big seller. It's just, in the world we live in today, it's very interesting to see how voters are going to treat a game that typically would not be considered the sort of game that would win Game of the Year. It's almost akin, a little bit to a sports game winning Game of the Year. That used to be possible back in the day. Sports games could win Game of the Year, and they have, but not anymore. And you have to wonder, can this game truly compete with voters' minds in the West? In the East, absolutely, but in the West, we'll have to see, because it really would go against the grain for Animal Crossing New Horizons to win. But I do think it deserves consideration. I do think it deserves a fair chance. Animal Crossing New Horizons is not only the first Animal Crossing game in like 8 years, it is one of the best games of the year, period. I mean, even when you're looking at ratings, it reviewed really well. But it has to go beyond the reviews, right? When you're talking about Game of the Year, it can't just be, oh, what was the highest rated game this year? Okay, that's it. I mean, you could take something like Hades then and argue that should be up there. And don't get me wrong, Hades is absolutely amazing, but it's not like Animal Crossing New Horizons is some sort of slouch. I mean, they got a 90 on Metacritic, which is extremely, extremely good. So I do think that it's just a fun debate. And I ask you guys, do you guys think Animal Crossing New Horizons deserves to win Game of the Year? Because they did it in Japan. Does it deserve to win it here out West as well? Because I'm internally debating it as well, because there's been so many fantastic games that came out in this past year. Should Animal Crossing be among them? And should it even win? If I had a vote, I'm not sure. I'm not sure which way I would go. I really don't know. All I know is me and my fiance have spent, combined, a couple hundred hours playing Animal Crossing New Horizons. I know that's not impressive compared to some of you guys. But for her, who doesn't really game, that's a lot of hours. And for me, who hasn't really been into Animal Crossing that much, it's a lot of hours. I really enjoy it. The terraforming is really cool. You could literally turn the ocean in your island into anything you want because of that terraforming. It's great. They've just really added a lot of fun features to this game that's different than prior Animal Crossing games. And not everyone enjoys them, of course. Some people wish other things would be different, or old features from older games would come back. I know the Wishing Well is one thing I've heard from a few people they wish would come back from the first Animal Crossing on GameCube. But either way, I'm really excited about this. In the midst of the next gen systems coming out, in the midst of a potential Switch Pro next year, and Age of Calamity and new Zelda stuff that we can get all hyped about, a reason to talk about Animal Crossing again is always worthwhile to me. Hence this video talking about it taking home a rather prestigious award. But can it do it again later this year? I have no idea. I guess we'll find out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am Nathaniel Robojans from Nintendo Prime, and I'll catch you in the next video.